On your agenda and your calendar this week, I believe you've met already with Tim Cook and Sundar Pichai. You will meet with leaders like Anthropic's Dario Amodei. What were those conversations about, and what was the focus for your visit?
Especially, of course, I want to meet American tech companies because for them, European Union is the biggest external market, and many of them, they are having more users in the European Union than in USA. So, of course, it's very important that we have good dialogue with the tech companies. And especially in the European Union, we want to boost investments and innovations when it comes to technologies, and we want to make sure that, for example, in AI, we are building our own capacities also on AI. So especially we are speaking about our innovation agenda, where we are willing to boost investments, innovations, create one single market, simplify the processes. So we want to make Europe faster and easier for businesses.
The top story in the world today is the idea that the President of the United States has made an appeal to Tim Cook to move production of the iPhone, many millions of iPhones in Europe, from India to the United States. Does the European Union have an offer to American technology companies to think about moving some of their industrial base to the bloc?
We have, of course, our own strengths when it comes to European Union. So we are a very stable place for investments, of course. And I think we have also very predictable regulatory framework also. And, of course, very talented workforce. So I think these are our great strengths in the European Union. And we really want to encourage also more investments and innovations in the European Union when it comes to technologies.
Executive Vice President, it's interesting that you say a predictable regulatory environment, because many executives from big tech companies find it a frustrating regulatory environment. They think that it's too tough. What would your response be when you're going to meet Mark Zuckerberg in particular, who has lobbied the President of the United States, we understand, because of some of what he sees draconian regulation coming from the EU?
What we want to make sure in the European Union is that we want to have a fair and safe and democratic environment, well, also when it comes to digital world. So we have very clear rules. So we don't think that it's good to have, for example, monopolies, because those gatekeepers, they are often blocking them new innovations to enter to the market. So we want to make sure that we have fair competition, we have a level playing field for everybody, and also when it comes to big online platforms, they also have to take the responsibility there to make sure that they are not, for example, spreading illegal content or selling illegal products, and they have to take care, of course, for example, of safety when it comes to protection of minors, for example. So we have some very important priorities now we are also discussing with our online platforms, and especially the priorities are very much connected to our democratic processes and protection of minors, for example. And transparency is something that we are also obliging from the very large online platforms, because they have a great economic power nowadays in the world, and also a great power in our society. So that's why it's important that they are also respecting our rules and values.
And your fines, and you did just levy, what was it, €500 million fine to Apple recently, €200 million to Meta, because you feel that they didn't align themselves with the Digital Markets Act in particular. But some would say those fines were smaller than expected because we're worried about the repercussions within the tariff negotiation. How do you respond to that, Executive Vice President, that perhaps you're going softer because suddenly Trump is going harder?
It's not something that we are seeking, that we are posing fines for the companies. Of course, the main idea is all the time to make sure that everybody is complying with our rules. And the main tool, how we are working with the digital companies, is to have all the time dialogue with them and look at what we are expecting from them and how they could comply with our rules. And of course, all of them are always defending their business interests, but I think we have also good dialogue with them and constructive discussions.
Executive Vice President, last month Bloomberg reported that President Trump was pressuring Europe to get rid of the AI Code of Practice, which is the framework attached to the EU's Artificial Intelligence Act. What conversations have you had with this administration about that issue? The administration feels it is too burdensome on US technology companies operating in the bloc.
It shouldn't be, because we see also that it's important that now when we are implementing our AI Act, that we are doing it in very innovation-friendly manner. And code of practice is really something that is supposed to help also businesses and industries and SMEs to comply with our rules. So we are still finalizing code of practice, but there has been months of discussion with the different stakeholders and public hearings about it, and we are still working on it. But how we want to implement our AI Act is very much that we want to support our industries and SMEs to really develop AI in the European Union. But in the same time, we see that it's important to be aware of the risks.
You brought news with you, and that is the TikTok news today. The EU says that the TikTok ad system breaks consumer protection rules. Why? What is your argument?
They haven't been transparent in their actions. So it's something what is core in our Digital Service Act legislation, that online platforms, they have to be transparent with their actions. And that's why we saw that TikTok is not complying with our rules. So we published preliminary findings today, and now they have time also to review and respond and comply. We have several investigations going on in a pipeline now.